Hi folks, this is Sumit and welcome to Acadgild's project session number 2. In our last session, we discussed what exactly the project requirement is as an understanding of project, how the different data looks like, what are the different pre-processing steps, and finally, what is the analysis that we need to do on the data. We will continue our today's session with table creation and data insertion. It is the raw data that we will be inserting. Okay. So in your solution kit, you would have received one file named myexecution.odt. Okay, this will contain all the steps that you need to perform to complete the project. So we have chosen Hive. If you are comfortable with any other tool, you can very well go ahead and do your analysis using that. So let's begin. And yes, friends, so I'll be using Acadgild's VM for the execution of project, and to save time, what I have done, I have created the tables and inserted the data. Anyway, I will be going from the end, from the beginning till end. I will tell you what are the different steps you have to do and all. Everything I'll show you. Okay. So first thing first, you need to add Hive Survey snapshot jar. Okay. So you will be copying this command, add jar, and the path where your jar is. Okay, I have already connected my Acadgild VM with the putty, and what I have done, I have created one database named eCom. I'll be creating all the tables inside this database. Okay, so I have already created it. I will show you. So first thing first, we are adding the jar file. So this is the jar file, and I'll just give the command done. So once the jar file is added, see in the beginning, I mean in our last session, I told you that there are 3 different tables. One is product info, other is users info, and users activity. So these are the basic tables that should be there. Okay. So for the project purpose, what we will be doing is we will be creating 4 different tables of each table. Okay, I will explain what exactly I mean. So let's say we have one main table, product info. So inside, I mean, product info will have one core, one raw, one stage, and one exception table. So the purpose I will tell you later, but just remember that there will be 4 different files of product info. So it will be like product underscore info underscore core, product underscore info underscore raw, product underscore info underscore stage, and then underscore exception. Similarly, for users info as well, we will have 4 different tables. And for users activity as well, we will have 4 different tables. Okay. So just remember this. Okay, and the commands are there, the initial commands. I will show you whatever it is there in the solution doc. It is for the same. So first we are creating products info raw. Okay, just try to connect the dots. So I told you there will be 4 different tables of each. Okay, now we are creating the raw table of product info. Okay, so the command is here, create table command. Okay, these are the different fields which are available, which should be there in that particular table. So I have already created the tables, so I will show you. So the name was product underscore info underscore raw. Try to find out where exactly it is. So you see guys, this product underscore info underscore raw, it is already there. So that particular table I have already created. Next is product info stage. Okay. Product info stage. This I have already created using the same command. Next is product info core. Product info core. Table is already there. I have created. You can just copy paste the command and execute it. So after product info core, we will be creating product info exception. Okay, so here is the command, and you can copy paste the command to create the table product info exception. So I will go back to the Hive shell, and you see product info exception I have created using the same command which is there in the solution doc. So now can you connect the dots? I said each product underscore info will have 4 different tables. Similarly, each users underscore info will have 4 tables, and users underscore activity will have 4 tables. So we are done with products info. For users info, we will have to do the same thing. For users activity, we have to do the same thing. Okay. Now it's time for users activity. So users activity raw. I have also created that. You can check users activity raw. It is here. Okay. Users activity raw I have created. Next will be users activity stage. Okay, so users activity raw is done. Stage we will be creating after that core and exception. Okay, so stage table, users activity stage. Check out for user activity stage. Yes, I have created user activity stage. It is already there. After stage, let's see which table is there. Exception. Okay, user activity exception. User activity exception already created. Next, after user activity exception, there is one table remaining, that is core. User activity core. Okay, so I have also created user activity core. Okay, it is already done. Now similarly we have to do for user info. So user info raw, user info stage, core and exception for this particular main table. User activity is done. For we will be doing for user info. Okay, so the commands are there in the document. We are following the same. First, raw table. So user info raw, it is created. User info raw done. After user info raw, we are creating stage table. User info stage. After stage, exception, and users info exception is there. Then users info core. So I have also created users info core. See, these tables are the basic tables. So you guys are already knowing Hadoop. So once you go through the command, you will understand what are the different fields and what are the data type of the field. We are doing simple partitioning and bucketing. So I'll explain you the reasons for it. So we are done with the creation of tables. Okay. Now you guys remember that I told you for enrichment steps. So if some of the data are missing in any of the main tables, we will be looking up for the lookup tables in our NoSQL database. We are using HBase. Okay, so there are 2 different HBase tables that has to be created. Create product category and then users location. So in the document, it is already mentioned what fields are missing, so which table has to be checked. Okay, so it is already there, data enrichment. So 2 tables are there, category and user location. Okay, so I have already created that in HBase. Okay, I'm starting HBase shell. I have already created 2 tables using the command given here. Okay, so these 2 commands. Okay, creation of product category and then creation of user location. These are the 2 commands that you have to run in Hive shell. Okay, so once done, we will move ahead. Now comes the data insertion. So remember guys, this is the raw data that we are inserting. After this, we will be checking, we will be filtering and validating our data. So now comes the reason why for each and every main table we are creating 4 subtables. So initially all the raw data, whatever data it is, you can say the unfiltered or invalidated data, whatever it is there, initially it will get loaded into raw tables. So product info raw, users info raw, and then users activity raw. So this raw table of each main table will have the data that are unprocessed. Okay, so we are going to do the same thing. So the data set is already there in the solution kit. So if you check under data, there are 3 different JSON files. Okay, so it is already available. You just have to copy paste the command according to the path wherever you have saved the data. So see, the command is very familiar: load data local in path. We are loading product info merge.json into product info raw table. Okay, just make a note of this. As of now, we are inserting data into product info raw. Okay, I have already inserted the data. Let's see how the data looks like inside product info raw. So I'll just do select star command, select star from product info raw, and this is how the data looks like. Okay, just see, the data is, see, there are very, the data set is small. Okay, 1 or 2 rows are there. Just for your understanding purpose, you can create more amount of data and you can do the analysis, but the process will remain the same. So for your understanding purpose, we are using small data set. So next is inserting the data into users info raw. I will do users info raw. Data is already there. You can see we got the output of that particular command, select star. After inserting into users info raw, we are inserting into user activity raw. Okay, user activity raw, and the data is already inserted. Okay, so these commands are done. So next are simple displaying the data. What I have done now, select star, and then this screenshot will give you that how the data looks like. Okay, so we need to set some properties. Okay, so because the tables are a bit complex and we are doing partitioning and bucketing, so we have to set some properties. So whatever it is there, I have given in the table. Now next, so guys, what we have done, we have already inserted into raw table. Okay, so we will load data into raw table using load data local command, and we have done that. Now from each raw table, we will insert data into stage table. So your stage table is just a backup of your raw table. So whatever data is there in stage raw will also be there in stage, just to keep the backup. If in case the table gets deleted, we will have a backup of the table. So now product info, we inserted data into raw table using load data command. Now from raw table, we will insert data into stage table. Okay, we will insert the data into stage table. So to do this, simple insert into command is there, insert override command is there. So now what we are doing, you see, we are inserting data into products underscore info underscore stage from raw table. So you just have to copy this command and paste it. I have already done. So now I will show you the data of product info stage that we are going to create. That is, table is already there. I have also loaded the data. I will show you stage table. So just for your comparison, what I will do, I will also run a select star from raw, and then you see the data. See, it's the same data. It's just that we are inserting into stage table. Okay. And one extra thing is there in product info stage. What we are doing, we are taking the current time from our machine using Unix timestamp command, and that particular field is getting added. So you will see product info stage have just one extra field. Okay, this date field is there, which was missing in raw table. Okay, so all the data from raw plus Unix timestamp is there. Okay, now similarly we will be inserting data into users info stage from users info raw. Okay, so I have already inserted using this insert override table command. I will show you the data. Okay, so this is there. Next, users activity stage. So now all our stage table is loaded with the data with some additional field as well. Okay, and from where we loaded the data into stage table? From raw table of each particular main table. Okay, so the complete command is there how to insert the data. Now displaying the inserted data, I have already shown you the data. Now what we are doing, see, for lookup table we need to have data in our HBase, right? So there are multiple ways of loading data into HBase. So we are choosing one of our way. You can go ahead with any other way. You can directly load data into HBase using put command. Okay, but what we are doing, from our Hive table we will be loading the data into HBase table. Okay, so for that what we are doing, we are creating one external table named product details. So you remember we had two HBase tables. One was product category and then user location. Now what we are doing, we are creating one external table in Hive named prod underscore details, and you see we have set the property that whatever data it will be there in this particular external table, whatever data will be there in this product underscore detail table, it will get loaded into production underscore category H table, which was there in HBase. We are setting some of the properties. Okay, survey properties and serialization properties, we are setting it so that the table gets linked. Okay, so it's simple. From our Hive table, okay, from our Hive table we will load data into lookup tables. Guys, again I'm telling, this is one of the way that we have chosen. You can very well go ahead with your own way. Okay, just that data should be there in your lookup tables. Okay, so I have also created this prod underscore details table. You see prod underscore details is already there. Okay, so just using the same command I have created the table. Now again it's the same concept. We are creating one stage table. So we have one more table, prod underscore details. It is a external table. To keep a backup, we will create a stage table of this. Same thing we are doing, we are creating a stage table of prod details stage. Okay, so you see prod details stage I have created. Now how to load the data? We are loading the data into stage table first. Okay, so we are loading the data into stage table and it is there, the data is available. You can check HBase data, two different data are available. So we are loading one of the data and the data is prod underscore details.txt. We are loading that into our stage table. we created the stage table of prod details, right? The stage table of prod details. Now what we are doing, we are loading data into underscore stage. Okay, so command is here, load data local in path. Just make a note, prod details stage, we are loading into that. I will show you the data, how the data looks like into this. Select star from. Okay, so this is the data which is there. Next, from stage table, we will load the data into the external table. And once we load the data into external table, our HBase table also will get automatically populated. Okay, so inserting data into prod underscore details. So this was the external table. So before we do that, we need to set something. This is the command that we have to do, set HBase property. So once we set the property, automatically the Hive table will get linked with the HBase table. So I'm done with that particular command. Now we are using insert override prod underscore details from which table? Prod details stage table. Okay, so once we run this command, whatever data is there in stage will get loaded into prod details, that is our external table. So now I will show you the data of prod underscore details. See, that same data, whatever it is there in stage table, it is there in main external table. Concept is simple. You just need to understand what exactly we are doing and why we are doing. So stage table is just a backup table of your raw table or external table. Now once done, we will have to do the same thing for user location. So we have to create one external Hive table named user location. For user location, we will be creating one stage table, load the data into stage table, and from stage we will be loading into external table. Okay, so similarly, user location will be an external table. From it, we are also creating one stage table, loading the data into stage table, using load data local command. Okay, then from stage table we will be loading the data into our external table using insert override command. Okay, so the same thing is there. Just see, we have created one external table in Hive named user location. So user location, you see user location is already there. Then stage table, and this user location table will point to your HBase table. So your HBase table was user underscore location. So as soon as the data gets populated in this Hive table, that will get also reflected in our HBase table. Okay, so after the external table, we are creating the stage table of user location. Okay, so I have already the user location stage is there. Now in user location stage, we will load the data. Okay, in user location stage, we will load the data. You see, we are loading the data. The data name is user underscore location.txt. Let's see how the data looks like. So this is the data that is there in our user location stage. Now from stage table, we are loading the data into main external table. So before that, we have to set this property. This is the HBase property. to interconnect your Hive and HBase. Now using the classic insert override table command, we are loading the data into user location, that was our external Hive table, from stage table. So we can do we will check what we have done. Simple. From user location stage, we have loaded data into user location. Okay, let's check. Select star from user location. It will be the same data that was there in the stage table of user location. Okay, so we are done. Now see, there were two different more tables. So you understood the concept of raw, you understood the concept of stage. Now why exactly core tables and exception tables are there? So there are certain rules that we need to check, right? There are certain rules. So this should not be null, that should not be null, the values cannot be negative, so and so. So once we check the rule, the invalid records will be there in exception table, the filtered and valid records will be there in our core table. So product info core will have the validated and filtered record. Similarly, users info core will have filtered and validated record. Same applies for users activity. And exception tables will have the data that does not satisfy the rules. Okay, so we are bifurcating it. Okay, core and exception. Now you got the use of core and exception as well. So inserting data into products info exception and products info core tables. Okay, how? We have to check certain rules, and based on that rule we are doing it. So this is the command. See, rule 2 is there, then rule 1, we are creating the rule. If it is null, then rule 1. If the value of discount is greater than price, rule 2. Similarly, there are certain rules. Okay, so you just have to copy and your data will get loaded. So before that, we need to set some properties in our Hive shell, and we are done. So what we are doing, from product info stage, okay, so basically our stage table had the data. Okay, now from stage table, what we will do, we will apply certain rules on stage table, and based on the valid records, the data will go to core table. Whatever invalid exception, it will go to exception table. Okay, so see, we are loading from stage table itself, product info stage, where into info exception and info core. So both the rules will get checked, and from stage, based on invalid rules, exception table will get populated. Based on valid rules, core tables will get populated. Okay, so just run this command, and so what are the different tables? One is product info exception and other is product info core. I have already executed it. I will show you the data inside that. Product info core. Select star from product info core. So this is the data inside core, and then products info exception. If there is any invalid record, the data will be in exception table. Select star from exception. There are no, all the data are valid, so this particular table is empty. Okay, so you got what exactly, how exactly. See, you remember, nowhere in till now we inserted data into core and exception. So what we are doing, from stage, we are checking the rules. Based on rules, we are inserting into core and exception. Next, we are inserting data into user info exception and user info core. From which table? From user info stage. Okay, similarly the query is there. The last query which we saw, it is something similar to that. Rules checking is done, and after rule checking, we are inserting the data into our exception and core. So these two are there. So we are inserting data into these two tables from stage table after checking some of the rules. Okay, whatever rule it is there, we are checking the rule, and according to that, valid and invalid data are getting segregated. Okay, so I have already executed that, and I will show you how what are the different data available in exception and core table. So select start from user info excp exception. Okay, I think it is users. Yeah, users info exception and users info core. So there are no invalid records, so this particular table is empty. So now we will check in core the valid records. So these are the valid records. Okay, so similarly we will be putting the data into our user activity exception and user activity core tables. Okay, user activity exception is here, and also user activity core, from user activity stage table. Okay, from this, based on certain rules, we will put the valid and invalid records. Okay, so this also I have already executed. I will show you. So just let me cross check the name once. Okay, so these are the valid records in which table? In user activity core table. Okay, so user activity excp exception table. So there is one invalid record as well that does not fulfill the criteria, that does not satisfy the rule. So that went into exception table. Okay, so now we have our data ready, the valid as well as invalid data ready. So next we have to do some of the validation. Okay, some of the validation, as in we need to find out how many valid and invalid records are there. So for that there are certain rule checkings. Okay, so this particular thing, okay, rules for checking and validation. So in case of violator, drop the records from processing. After validation, identify the number of records failed for each rule. So we need to write some query also to identify how many failed records are there. Then if the threshold have been reached, we need to stop the processing also. So those things we will see in our next session. For today's, this is it guys. Thank you, have a great day.